Sikha we will be learning now is in Sichas Chelek Tes, Parshas Eikev, the fourth Sikha. This is a posik in second parsha of Krishma that the Rebbe talks about. It's a Rasha Sikha. So the Rebbe says like this: in posik in Satim Taratzach and Beite, in the posik where it says after it says V'hoyim Shemei Tishmo, you're going to listen to my mitzvahs, etc., etc. So Hashem says in the Sati I will give the rain of your land, and I'm stressing the words because it's going to negate to the Sikha. When the Sati Mitar Artzechem, I'm going to give the rain of your land, the ite in its time, Geimer, etc. That's what Rasha is heading is. So the word to Geimer is not in Rasha's heading, but that's the Rebbe brings it as part of the posuk that he's talking about. So Rasha quotes from the posuk the words of Nasati Mitar Artzechem, I will give the rain of your land, just these three words, doesn't even say the Geimer. And he's Mefarish and he explains, what does that mean? Asisa Masha Aleichem, you did what's upon you to do. Afani Ese Masha Alai, so I will do what's upon me. So Poshup Shat means that since V'hoyim Shemei Tishmo, you're going to listen to my mitzvahs, you're going to do what I want you to do, what it's upon you to do, I will do what's upon me to do, and they will give us rain in the land, the rain of the land, of your land. Isn't it moving? So the Rebbe said it's not understood. What's not understood in the simple pshat of the posik that is answered by Rasha writing Asisa Masha Aleichem. We know that Rasha doesn't comment on the posik unless there's something that needs to be explained. A posik that makes very simple sense, Rasha has nothing to say. Best proof is because there are so many psukim Rasha says nothing, and it's not because he has nothing to say. There's so many Madrasha Chazal and all these psukim. But Rasha only explains a posik that in simple pshat it's not understood. So what's not understood in this posik? When the pasuk says, "V'nasati metaratzachem," I will give you the rain. That's simple pshat. The fatas l'chura is Rasha demit gonit mechadash if einfach ma'optach from pasuk. Especially that Rasha is not mechad, doesn't say anything new, anything different than the simple pshat of the pasuk. Sometimes we have a kasha Rasha there's nothing hard in the pasuk that we don't know why Rasha says anything. But Rasha does say something more than the pasuk says. So it says kasha anyway. Why does he say anything? Here it's both. Number one, there's nothing not hard to understand in the pasuk. And number two, what Rasha does write is nothing different than the pasuk. The pasuk says, you listen to my mitzvahs, etc. I will give you the rain. Very simple. So for what you did, I will give you the rain. So what is Rasha adding? In Ha'orah 3, the Rebbe even adds another shaila. Gaming the movement's also not understood. Why does Rasha quote from the pasuk also the words Mitar Artzechem? Rasha quotes from the pasuk V'nasati Mitar Artzechem. Why does he need to quote the words Mitar Artzechem? Rasha could have just quoted Lahatik. Rasha did not have to quote Kiyim Tevis V'nasati. Only the word V'nasati. But Rasha wants to say that what the pasuk is continuing here to say about Hashem will give you so and so and so and so, it's because you did what you're supposed to do. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. So if he would just say the word V'nasati, and we know what he means. At most, he should have written Nasati V'Geimer, Nasati, etc. The whole pasuk, because it goes on all these different things that the pasuk says. So why does Rasha quote after the words Nasati Mitar Artzechem? But in the Pnim, the Rebbe asks the question, why does Rasha have to say anything, especially when he's not adding anything to the pasuk? The Rom, Rabbi Yom Mizrachi, was one of the main main commentaries on Rasha for answers like this. Rasha is using some Avoren and Dosvos in the Parsha Ven Uzgerechen Asach Protim in the Broche of Nesatim Taratzechem. Rasha is trying to explain why in these psukim here the pasuk is telling us a lot of brochas. Starts off with Nesatim Taratzechem, I'll give you the rain, but then he goes on Yeire Umalkish, which is different types of rain. Vasaftu de Ganecho, gave it, and you will gather your grain. And the Satya Esav, I will give the grass, gave it to the animals. Vachalto, Vesavota, you'll eat it, will be satisfied. The pasuk gives us a lot of brachas here. So Rasha is trying to explain why does the pasuk here give us so many brachas? Need to be in Parsha B'Chokesa, not like in Parsha B'Chokesa, where state blaze from the Satik Ishmeichem Beitam, where there it only says, I will give you your rain in their time. There also the pasuk says, Im B'Chokesa Teleichot, you're going to give us Mechukim, etc., etc. And Hashem will give you all these the brachas, but He doesn't give many brachas. He just says, when the Satik Ishmeichem Beitam will give you the rain in their time. So how come over here the posuk gives you so many brachas? That's the kasha that Rashi has on the posuk. That's the way the Ram explains. Rashi says it doesn't. The reason he gives so many brachas because here we're talking that you did what you are supposed to do. You did what's upon you to do. You did everything you're supposed to do. Therefore, Hashem says, I will do what's upon me, meaning, I'll do everything that I'm supposed to do. Actually, there won't be left one good thing that I'm supposed to do that I wouldn't be doing. I'll do everything. In other words, the pasuk here is talking about, in a higher level, doing everything that you're supposed to do, but in Parashat B'chukaisai, he's not talking about it. In Parashat B'chukaisai, he's talking about people do just, like so to speak, the minimum. So, Einlein in the Pirush Rashi, the Rebbe says it's hard to say that in Rashi. Why? The reason why? Because number one, Rashi stellt sich auf die Werte von Nesati Mitar Arzechem und is a viele mit Meisiv Gamer. Rashi quotes from the Pasuk the words von Nesati Mitar Arzechem, I will give you the rain of your land. Doesn't bring the rest of the psukim, the rest of the words from the psukim. Like he says, according to the Ram, the main nekuda was bothering Rashi. Why do the next word say? If it would say just when the Satim Taratzach would be fine, would be no kasha. The whole kasha is, it says when Satim Taratzach, and it continues, Yero Malkesh and Saftig and all the great things. The kasha is, why does it say here that like that? That's what Rashi answers, because here it means that you did the best, the most. But in that case, Rashi should have mentioned the other words of the posuk, or at least added the game in the Satim Taratzach and the game, except the meaning that he's discussing the rest. The says that the Hechrach to Lein Pirush is fundiverted. That what makes Rashi say what he says is from these words, from the three words from the Sati Mitar Arzechem, not from anything else, because if it be anything else, Rashi would have written them or at least said the game. Like in Pirush from Rome, and according to the Pshat of the Rome, is that Hechrach nor from the Vaitik Gewette in Posik. According to the Rome, the whole Hechrach Rashi says to say what he's saying. In other words, what's forcing Rashi to say what he's saying? Because it continues with other words. All these different things. The contrary, in these words from the Satim Taratzechem, leichen sich aus die Psukim from Parashat B'chukaisai, from unser Parashat. In that, from those words, our Parashat exactly like in B'chukaisai. B'chukaisai it says, the Satik Ishmechem Beitam, I will give you the rain, it's time. And here it says, from the Satim Taratzechem. So if Rashi is bothered, why over here it says different than over there, here it says more than there, he's quoting the words exactly the way they are over there too. More or less the same thing. So obviously, it can't be what Rashi was bothered with, because Rashi then would have quoted mainly the other words, or at least hinted to the other words. That's one reason why the pshat of the Ram is not so clear. Second thing, like Pirush Rashi, I mean the brachas in Parashat B'chukaisai, aggressive even on the Parashat. According to the Ram, what the Pasuk is talking about here, the brachas Eibishter is giving here are greater than the brachas, more than the brachas in Parashat B'chukaisai, and that's what bothering Rashi. According to the Ram, why is here more? But if you look at Rashi, you'll see that the brachas there are greater brachas than here. The Rashi Teichstot, Rashi was there in the parashas in Parashat B'chukaisai, in the Psukim. Rashi says, on the posuk of Eitz HaSod, it says, Eitz HaSod Yitin Pirit, that the trees of the sod of the field will give its fruit. So Rashi says, Heini lo nisrak. It's not talking about fruit-bearing trees. Trees that don't give normally fruit. They will also give fruit. Basidin lasis peirat, they will give fruit. Das heißt, a broche, Rashi says that over there the bracha is so great that things beyond nature are going to happen. Das ist in ganz nachher so bracha wie von unser Parasha. It's a much higher bracha, higher category of bracha than our Parasha. Our Parasha, it's a lot of brachas. Give you rain and this kind of rain, that kind of rain, and you'll gather the grain and you'll have grass and you'll have food and you'll have everything. All, but they're all natural. You'll have atzlocha, you'll have a bracha in the nature. Over there, it's l'mayla maderech hatever, beyond teva. So how could the Ram say that Rashi is trying to explain that by us is bigger brachas than there, and that's what bothering Rashi? Why? And he's answering because here you did more than you did there. And over there, the brachas seem to be greater than here, so it's not like the Ram says. Then the Rebbe continues. If you compare the two psukim by us over here, and the psukim in Parashat B'chukaisai, we will see that there are many differences between the way Rashi explains it. Here, Rashi, after the Rashi that we were discussing, on the words of Nesati Mitar Arzechem, Rasha explains it means you did what you're supposed to do, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. Then Rasha quotes again the word be'itay. Be'itay means in his time. When he's mafarish, Rasha explains, what does it mean in its time? The leilis, at night, the nights. At night, it won't bother you. At night, people are not outside. But Rasha doesn't say. Rasha just says at night because they shouldn't bother you. Dovar achar be'itay, another pshat in the word be'itay. The leili Shabbos is Friday night, the night of Shabbos. And Rasha gives a reason. Why is it then? It's a good time. Because everyone is at home. Shabbos, people don't go to work, they don't go out, so people are at home. So that's a good time for the rain to come. That's the way Rasha explains the word be'ita here. Again, two pshat, one pshat that means at night, so it shouldn't make hard on people. And another pshat in the word be'ita means Friday night because that's when people are home. That's the way Rasha says it here. If be'itom mipasha b'chokesa, when the sati gishmeichem be'itom, on the same similar word in b'chokesa, where the pasuk says when the sati gishmeichem be'itom, it says also be'itom. Taich Rasha says it means like this: B'shor she'ein derech me'odem lotzis. A time when it's not common for people to go out. Kigain b'leila Shabbos, like the night of Shabbos means Friday night. That's the way Rasha says in there. So the Rebbe says, "Dafim Fashem." We have to understand why here it says different than there. The Rebbe shows quite a few differences between the way Rasha explains it here and the way Rasha explains it there. Number one. Why is it that in Parsha B'Chakesei, Rasha is satisfied just by saying, what does the time mean? Friday nights, the night of Shabbos. And in unser Parsha, and here, Rasha, besides the Pshat, he also says that it's a Friday night. He says another Pshat, which means B'chalat night. So why is the difference? Noch mehr, not more than that. Der Pirish b'leila Shabbos is do zok Rasha al zweiten Pirish. The Pirish, the Pshat that means Friday night, Rasha says as a second Pshat. And we know the klal that the Rebbe always has, that when Rasha says two Pshatim, the first one is the better Pshat, the one that's closer to Pshutei Shel Mikra. So if Rasha writes this inyan that it means Friday night as a second Pshat, to say that means, nit via Pirish ikri Pshutei Shel Mikra. That's not the main Pshat, it's a second Pshat. Not the main pshat in the simple pshat. When the Pirish Rishon v'Ikri is, and the first and main pshat is, as v'ita means tambaleilis, that v'ita means just at night, which is behepech in Parshat B'Chokesei, which is the opposite of B'Chokesei. With the Pirish from v'itchem is dafke unor b'leilis Shabbos. In Parshat B'Chokesei, Rasha only writes what he writes here as a second pshat, which means not the main pshat. That's the only pshat that Rasha writes there. In other words, the pshat, the first that Rasha says here, that it means just playing the nights, Rasha doesn't even bring there. There, Rasha just says that it's Friday night, which by us, Rasha makes it sound that that's not the real pshat. It's a pshat, but it's a secondary pshat. And over there, he says, it's not even that he says it as a first pshat. He says it's the only pshat. So that makes also a question, what's the difference? A third, in Parsha B'Chokesei is a Rasha freer them teichen. In Parsha B'Chokesei, Rasha says that it means, as we said before, Friday night. But Rasha says first the meaning of it, the reason why. In other words, Rasha starts off by saying, what does the ita mean? B'shor she'ein derech ne'odem lotzes, a time when people don't go out. Und noch dem genoyim zman. And then he says exactly what he means. For instance, Friday nights, the night of Shabbos. Dagegen in unser Parsha sagt Rasha not verkehrt to say that in our Parsha, Rasha says in the opposite order. Frier b'leila Shabbos. First he says it means Friday night. Und noch shakal mitzvim v'tem. And then he gives the reason. Why? Because everybody is home. But over there he gives first the reason. First he says what it is. It's because the time means when people don't go out. And then he says when it is. And by us he says when it is. And then he says the reason because everyone is at home. The fourth difference. In Parsha B'Chokesei is a Rasha Tamtzat HaShlila. In Parsha B'Chokesei, when he gives it, that it means Friday night, he says, why? In a negative form. When people don't go out. And though here, when he says that same pshat, he says the tzadachiyuv, the positive thing. Everyone is staying at home. The question is why? Another thing, in Parsha B'Chokesei, he says, Bnei Odom. He says it's not the derech of people to go out. And here in our Parshas Eikev, he says, Shahake. Everyone stays home. The Lashon Rasha was, as the Rebbe quoted before, Everyone is home. It doesn't say b'nei yodam when people are home. It says everybody's home. And over there it says people are home. People don't go out. The sixth question, diuk is, Rasha zog dodam zweiten Pirish b'leil Shabbos. Before Rasha says the second shot, like what does the time mean that the rain will come and its time means Friday night? Is there nochamo maitik from posek the word beite? He repeats again the word beite. Rasha uses the lashon dover achar, another shot beite. What does beite mean? B'leil Shabbos, the night of Shabbos. Rasha didn't have to say that. Rasha could have just said dover achar b'leil Shabbos because we know he's talking about the word beite. He already quoted the word beite in the beginning of the Rasha. So how come Rashi repeats when he gives the second shot that means Friday night? He says again the word beite. Dover achar beite. The Beer calls that the explanation is as follows. The difference between the bracha, the way it's in Parsha B'chukesa and in our Parsha, is like this. There the pasuk says, I will give you Gishmeichem, their rain. Who's the they? I will give their rain in its time. Their rain means the Kshamim from Eden, the rain of the Eden. Here it says, I will give the rain of your land. Their motor for Nayar Oretz, the rain of your land. Which means, as hey, in Parsha B'chukesa, benchman the Eden with Kshamim. Parsha B'chukesa, when the Eibush says he'll give rain, who's he benching? Who's he blessing it to? To the Eden, he says, I'll give you your rain. It says their rain, but it means them. I'll give the Eden the rain, their rain in its proper time. So he's talking about the bracha to the Eden. And the bracha is of rain. Und da bench from the Moritz, and the way it's written here, he's benching the land. Und durch dem kommt es on to the Balabatim from the Moritz Eden. And because the land is going to get this bracha, but maybe it'll be a bracha for Eden. But the direct bracha, the way the Pasuk puts it here, he's going to give rain to the land. It's a bracha on the land. And there he's talking directly, he's giving a bracha, the rain of the Eden. Here is the rain of the land. Das ist der Tamachile zwischen dem Suga Brochas und Parsha B'chukesai. Und in unser Parsha, over there it's Hecher von Tev, and here it's Alpi Tev. This will explain why the difference in the kind of brochas. The brochas and Parsha B'chukesai are brochas beyond nature, like Rasha just we quoted it from Rasha before. That even trees that don't usually give fruit will give fruit. They'll be brochas beyond nature. In Parsha B'chukesai, so there is beyond nature. Why is this? We said B'chukesai is beyond Teva, and in unser Parsha it's Alpi Teva. Because in Parsha B'chukesai, the Baal the broch is to Eden, since the broch is to Eden, is nicht bei Grenitz in Gidriat Teva. It's not limited to the limitations of a nature. Wird gebencht sein der Definition. They wish to bless as a Yid, whatever he needs, all his needs. Even if it doesn't fit to the natural thing. David says to Yid, I'm going to give you everything you need. And the limitations of nature doesn't count. Again, in unser Parsha, on the other hand, in our Parsha, with the broch is some Oretz, the broch is to the land, he said the river late Oretz, so it's according to the land. But Sinyon is doch Teva. Land is nature. Like it says in Parshas Noach, after the Mabel, Hashem says that the days of the land shall continue. There shall be time to plant, a time to plow, etc., etc. That will not change. That will not stop. In other words, there won't be Mailam Teva. Aber nicht an Leben von der Mailam Teva won't be Mailam Teva. Yidden could deal with Mailam Teva. So when David should give us a bracha to the Yidden, and he says, "I'll give you rain," saying it that he'll give it as a bracha to the Yidden, it's not limited to nature. But when you say he'll give a bracha to the land, so if I could give a bracha and make it special, make it good, but it won't go beyond nature. Okay. And that we see because we see that over there it's beyond nature. It's not. We see that in the Psukim. And that over there it's to the Eden, there is the land. We see also in the Psukim. Because there it says Gishmeichem, which means your rain. And that talks to the Eden. And here it says, Atzechem, you give the rain to the land, your land. There it says to you, nearest to the land. Und die Sibetz im Chilek zwischen the Broches from Parsha B'chukesai and unser Parsha. And the reason why there is a difference, why over there is the Eibishter talking to the Eden, giving the Brocha to the Eden, the Mela could be in higher nature. Here it's a Brocha to the land, which could only be according to nature. Rasha explains it when he explains the words when Asatim betar atzechem. What does Rasha say on that? Rasha explains that he said in the beginning of the Sikha that you did what's upon you to do, I will do what's upon me to do. These words explain why here he's talking only according to nature. The bracha will be according to this. These are the words. How? This that over here in the bracha is in connection to the land, which Rabbi is only connected to nature. Is because here we're talking about what did Eden do, what they're supposed to, what they have to. Das was is a Rufgele geworden auf euch, which is put upon you. Das was means mechuyev zu tun, what you have to do, aber nicht mehr von dem. You do what you have to do, but not more than that. And the Leibel is afani, the Rabbi. So therefore, the Rabbi says, I also answer, I will do midah keneged midah, measure for measure, nor mashal, I also only what I have to do, which means takia broch, I'll give you the blessing. But nor is only whatever is according to nature, not higher than that. That's what the Rabbi is saying. You're doing what you have to. I'm going to do what I have to, and that's all. And therefore, if what you have to, it's only nature. It doesn't no obligation to go beyond nature. He created nature, and this is what he has to do. When the Bracha zugesagt, als Charab dem Vasiden sollen sich finden an Eifen, wo Mechkeisai te leben. The Brachas are told as a reward when the Yidden will behave in a form of Bechokesai Telecha, which means what? What's mean? This means the Rasha Rasha says, what does Bechokesai Telecha mean? Shetiu Amelim B'Teira. You will toil in Teira, which means need stam len vifel mis mechuyev, not just to learn as much as you mechuyev you have to, but Amelim B'Teira, to toil, work hard. Mervis is not the mitzvah from Talmud, more than you have to alpidin, the minimum, so to speak, to learn. So over there, we're talking in Bechokesai Telecha, if you learn more and do more than you have to, the Leibel is like the bracha from Eibush, not nor mashallah. Therefore, the bracha of Hashem is not only what I have to do, nor hechef and could be higher in nature. And that's the difference. So over there, we're talking about the higher madrege of what people do. They're doing more than you need. Eibush also does more than the limitations of nature. Here, where you're doing only what you have to, I will give you a bracha, but only according to nature. And in the order 15, the Rebbe says, this will also explain why Rashi quotes these words from the Pasuk. In the order 53, the Rebbe said before, another kasha, why Rashi even quotes the words Matar Atzichem. Rashi just said, quoted the word Venasati, and explained, you did what you're supposed to, I'm going to do what I'm supposed to. Why does he have to quote the words Matar Atzichem? But now we understand why. Because Rashi wants to tell us that here he's only giving Matar Atzichem, the rain for your land, which is nature. And Rashi is saying, why is he only giving the bracha of nature? Because you did the limited way. You did what you're supposed to. So I'm going to do what I'm supposed to. But in the case, they're talking about something more, which seems very simple here, that the Rebbe is not learning like the Rom. The Rom learns that over there is lesser brachas, and it's a lower madrege, and here it's higher. Over there it's talking about the people did not do everything they're supposed to, and that's why the bracha is in a smaller level. And here you did everything you're supposed to, that's why the bracha is in a higher level. And the Rebbe learned the complete opposite. Over there, you did more than you're supposed to. The brachas are in a higher level over there. It's bracha l'mayla and derech hateva. And over here, we're talking about you did what you're supposed to, but not more. So David will do what he's supposed to, but not more. Then you could ask on that. If in Posek in Parashat Sovei, Hashkifim in Kotchechol, we have a Rashi that seems to contradict what we just said. On the Posek in Parashat Sovei, where it speaks about when you bring the Kurim and you do Meiser, and you say to the Eibush, Hashkifim in Kotchechol, look down from your holy place where you live to the Eibush there. What does that mean? Rashi explains like we did what you decreed upon us to do. So now you do what you're supposed to. He says this tefillah and this video, and he says, I did this and this and this. I brought Kurim, I brought myself, I brought everything. So now look down and you do what you're supposed to. So Rashi teaches that you're telling David that we did what you decreed upon us. Now you do what's upon you to do. And Rashi quotes She'amarta, because you said in B'chokesai Telecha when Nisati Gishmei Tabito, I will, if you go on my chukim, I will give your rain in their time. So it comes out from here, this haste, as a Nisati Gishmeichem Be'itom, Hechef Artevik, what we said before, giving the rain in its time, which is beyond nature, because that's what it says in Parashat Kesai, is the schara b'sin masha gezakt aleinu, is the reward for saying to the Eibush that we did what you decreed upon us to do. Which seems like it's the exact same thing, but Rashi says here. Rashi here uses the lotion. We did what's upon us, you do, and you should do what's upon you. David, I will do what's upon me to do. And the Rebbe explained when he says we did what we're supposed to, means only what's lower madrega, only what we have to, not more. And the same lotion is in Rashi in Parshas Tisove, that it talks about, quote the Poseh B'chukei Yisai, Nitaiches when the Satik Yishmeicham Beitom means the brochas of Parsha B'chukei Yisai, and he uses the same lotion like he uses here. But Rashi Zog the Parsha Eikev. So we said that lotion that Rashi uses here means that we did what we're supposed to, means nothing more. And that's only over here, Rashi, that Rebbe said before, Pshat and Rashi. Over there in B'chukei Yisai, it's not that. It's not you did what we're supposed to. We did more than that. So over there, how does Rashi quote in Parsha Kisov is saying that when the Satik Yishmeichem B'ito means that because we did what we're supposed to, you do. And there we just said before is L'mayla Manateva. But now we're saying that if you only do what you're supposed to, the Baruch is not L'mayla Manateva. So it doesn't seem to fit what we said. Avoid this Rashi in the Pirish Guf, it was Mshina Yisofet L'Shenes. Rashi answers this by adding and changing one word. Ezoknit, he doesn't say that the Posik in Parsha B'chukei means, or in Posik in Parsha Kisove, which is similar to B'chukei, Osinu Masha Oleinu. We did was upon us. He says here in Parsha Eikev, as we quoted in the beginning of the Sikha, he says, Asisa Masha Aleichem, Afaniasa Masha, you did what's upon you. Here Rashi doesn't do that. Here Rashi adds, Norasinu Masha Gazarta Oleinu. We did what you decreed upon us. Because haste, that means Rashi is telling us the schar is not taking kima mitzvahs. The schar is not for what we did the mitzvahs. Then Rashi would have said, Asinu, not Masha Gazarta, Asinu Masha Oleinu, we did what's upon us. So it doesn't mean doing the mitzvahs, Asinu, Be'efim is Mekai mitzvahs in the Sufa Mishpotim and Eidis. Like you do the mitzvahs which are in the category of Mishpotim and Eidis, but the mental Cheseichel Versteht Zayin is a maskim to say. These are mitzvahs that the person with Seichel understands, a normal human Seichel understands it, and agrees that you should do it. That's nature. If you do what you understand is right to do and you nevertheless do it, that's normal. It's not beyond anything. But here the Rashi uses the word gzeira is usually used for a chukah, which means a gzeira is a decree. Chukim are those mitzvahs that we don't understand. What means mekayim durch mevatel seine eigenem seichel. You do it because you're mevatel your seichel. Loshen Rashi, where Rashi says it in different places, as mitzutze in order when you do the chukim, you do it only because gzeira hi milfona ein lechashut lahachar. It's a gzeira decree for me. So the word decree means when you do something that you don't understand, which means normally you wouldn't do it, and you're going out of your confinement, out of your limitations, and you nevertheless do it. And that's what Rashi says over there. When Rashi says these words and says that's the pshat in B'chukei Yisai and the Satik Yishmeichem Beitom, Rashi is trying to tell us that over there it's also not the normal thing that you're doing just mitzvahs. We've all that the key from the mitzvahs that the Eikev seine hechaf and seichel and teva ha'odom. Since when you say you did what mashagazar toleinu means, we did mitzvahs which is beyond our normal chaos. It's beyond our seichel and beyond our teva. The Leibel is the schar of the mitzvahs and Eikev and the Satik Yishmeichem. Therefore, the reward for the mitzvahs over there in B'chukei Yisai, the way Rashi refers in Parsha Kisova to Parsha B'chukei Yisai, I'm going to give your rain. Your rain means the way it's for Yidden by Mailam and Ateva. Ayere the ir 40 the item. I'll give you yours the way you're behaving, which is behaving beyond the limitations of nature, which will be a broche. What is hechef from Tevik now? Well, the broche higher than nature. And the Rebbe says in order 22 that it's interesting that this inyan of amelim b'teira, that the Rebbe said over there, it's doing more than normal. Your amelim b'teira, your horaving, your toiling in teira is in the word b'chukei Yisai, which fits to what we're saying here. That going beyond is hinted in the word chukah, because a chukah is doing something that you don't understand, so you're going beyond your limitations, and that's the whole amelim b'teira, going beyond limitations, and that's why the bracha is beyond the nature. So it's no kasha from the way Rashi explains it in Parsha Kisove, because there he refers to the posik in Parsha B'chukei Yisai, also saying the similar lashon to here, but he means different than here. Here Rashi says we did what we're supposed to do. There he says not. Here we did what you would decreed upon us to do. Now we're doing the decrees. We're doing something beyond nature. That's why over there B'chukei Yisai the bracha is beyond nature. The chilek klali al nal zwischen Parsha B'chukei Yisai and unter Parsha is der tamet unterschied in dem teich beitom beite in the zwei. According to the difference we said before in the two parshas, in Chukei we're talking a person that does his aveda beyond nature, and therefore the bracha is beyond nature. Over here by us, he's doing aveda what he's supposed to do, just with the limitation of nature. So the bracha is also the same way. that'll make a difference in how we touch the word in its time. Whether it says be'itom or be'itei, over there in Parshas, here Rashi touches be'itei means be'itei b'leila shli yatricho eschem dover rache b'itei b'leila shaboses. A be'itom Parsha b'chakei Rashi only touches, it means Friday night. Upon him, based on what we said before, we'll see the difference. In Parsha b'chakei with the birchas hakshomim is dika to the Yidden gishmeichem. As we said before, Parsha b'chakei with the bracha of rain is a bracha to the Yidden. That's why he says gishmeichem, your rain. It doesn't say the rain of the land, it's a bracha to the land, and then you benefit from the bracha to the land. It's a bracha to you. It comes, the rain comes according to what the Yidden wanted. What's best for the Yidden, because the bracha is to the Yidden. When the best side of rain for a Yidden is when the gate meet the chlal and gas. When is the best time for a Yid to have rain? When he's not going, he doesn't walk outside. The Rebbe touched Rasha be'itom, so Rasha says like this: be'itom means the shoshein there of the odom lotzes when people don't go out. Friday night, so he only touches over there Friday night. Hagam, as es sein genug as man mut from Shomim, not in the Leila Shabbos is l'mayim aderech hateva. Even though if it only rains once a week and only a specific time, it's not enough really. But who cares? Over there we're talking that the bracha is l'mayim hateva. So since over there the bracha is to the Yidden, so it's enough. What's best for the Yidden? Best for the Yidden when you don't go out at all. Friday night, Shabbos night, people don't go out at all. If you don't go out at all, it's the best time. You could ask, it's the best time, but you're giving a bracha. The bracha should be for the best benefit they should get. It's not enough really if it's only once a week. We don't care because over there it's a bracha l'maylam and atev. So Rashi says it's a bracha to the Yidden Friday night. But in unser Parsha, but in our Parsha, where the bracha is the Eikev zum Eretz, here the bracha is to the land Atzechem, your land, like Digdorim von Eretz, which means according to the limitations of the land, which is Teva canal, like I said before, the land represents Teva, is there be'itei. So this be'itei, which means in the proper time, adesman akshomim is sugipas, eich inan neifen tivi. So when he says, I'll give it to rain in its time, but since it doesn't go about anything l'maylam and Teva, the bracha is not beyond nature, so he has to give you in the best time, but the best time that will fit within the framework of nature. That's why it's b'leila stam. That's why it's nights. Nasach leilas b'meshech l'bruch. Many nights through the week. Doesn't say how many. Did blaze b'leila Shabbos. Not only Shabbos night, it's Friday night. Was as dozol zayin genug is zayin shnisi, because if only Friday night will be enough is a nest, and that in our parsha doesn't talk about the Eibush giving the brocha beyond nature through a nest. So here Rashi just says the first shot is b'leilas at night. Over there where we're talking about brochas of a miracle, so it could be the best, and it's a brocha to Yidden. The best time for the best time is only Friday night, because Friday night no one goes out. The best. It's not enough. It'd be a nest, no problem. Here we can't go according to a nest because it's not giving a bracha of l'maylam and of a nest. He's giving a bracha within nature. That's why he says at night. Usually, many people don't go out at night. It's dark, so derech hateva is the best time to have, and you'll have more than one night. The Chelek and is verbunden mit dem Teich vom Wort mit Taratzchem beitei. This will also be connected. This is different to the meaning of the word where it says, "I'll give you the rain of your land beitei," and the other place it says, "Gishmeichem beitom." I'll give you that in their time. What's meant? What does the word beitei beitom mean? How does that mean? When you say it means in their time, what does it mean in their time? It means like this. It's interesting pshat. But it quotes it, the Mepharshim say that also. Meant, adosige Zeit was it zugeteilt uschließlich von Regen. You say I'll give you the rain in the time for the rain, means the best time for the rain. What does that mean? See, there's man, when nor the Regen allein geht. It's a time when only the rain is going. There's no one else. That's what that means. In its time, that's the time for the rain. And the way you look at deeper pshat in the words of Rashi means in its time, this is the time of the rain. If it's any other time, it's not the time of the rain. It's good. The rain has it goes then also, but other people also walk. But when the post, I'll give you the rain when it's the time of the rain, that means it's a time when this is exclusively for the rain. Okay. So it's telling you exclusive for the rain. Ober, in them kezayt tzvei, it could be two ways in this. Number one, when the broch is to Eden, when the broch is to Eden, is eich der beitom for Regen abhängig von Eden bechlal b'chol yinei. If the broch is to Eden, and we say it's in the proper time that the rain comes when it's exclusive rain, it has to be exclusive for the rain in connection to the way the Eden behave. Then is der beitom for Regen was not eres bachut. So if you look at it from the perspective of the Eden, when is the best time for the rain, that it's only time for the rain, that only the rain is there exclusively, when people don't go out at all. You don't go out. That's the most exclusive time. Because if we're looking, the bracha to the rain is in connection to the Eden. You have to see when the Eden don't go out. When is a time when the Eden don't go out? That's Friday night. Und der Fahrer sagt nicht Rasha früher Belela Shabbos in der Nacht B'Shosh Ein Derech and the Odom Lotzes. This explains why Rasha first writes the word Leila Shabbos, and then he writes the reason for it, because not a time when people go out. So he doesn't write it. I'll read it again. The Fahrer sagt nicht Rasha früher Belela Shabbos in der Nacht B'Shosh Ein Derech and the Odom Lotzes. Derech was up in Parashat Eikev. In Parashat Eikev, Rasha writes first when it is, and then he gives the reason because people don't go out. Over there, Rasha doesn't do that. Doesn't write first the time and then the people. Well, that taich from Beitum, because if we're going to taich, translate the word Beitum in its time, is the Shosh Ein Derech Neodam Lotzis. But the Pasuk is telling us, since it's a bracha to the Eden, they're saying like this: the rain will come, but it's best for the Eden. In the time that's, so when it says in its time, means in the time that's best for the Eden. When is the time when it's best for the Eden? So first, the Rashi has the taich of the word. What does the word mean? Not when that happened. That is already an extension. It's an outcome. He taiches the word Beitum. What does Beitum mean? Beitum means their time for the Eden. When the Eden, so Rashi says it means when Eden don't go out. But mainly is down there Beitum for it. That's the time when the rain, because if we're looking the rain, the best time for the rain in connection to the Eden is when the Eden don't go out at all. When there's the Noch, sagt Rashi, then gives an example. When is that time which is the best for the Eden? That's already for instance, Leila Shabbos. It could be maybe Yom Tavos. I'm just saying Rabbi doesn't say it, but it could be a other time. But that's the main time is Friday night. It's an example of Friday night. But this answers why Rashi doesn't first say the time and then why, because he first wants to touch the word. The word means in its time of the people, because over there we're talking about what's good for the people. And then he gives the example. So that's one thing, one way. So one way to learn is, one from that is when the bracha is to Yidden, and if the bracha is to Yidden, so it depends on when is the best time for Yidden, and that's Friday night. But then the second thing, when the bracha is to Eretz, if the bracha is a bracha to the land, the tar artzechabite, the Parashat Seinu in Parashat Eikev, the rain of your land, which means it's a bracha to the land, demot is the shayches to Yidden, the Yidden seine verbunden mit bearbeitendem Eretz. So we're talking about that's all a bracha for the Eden. We're not talking about the land. The bracha is that the Eden will have good food, etc., etc. But we're talking to the Eden as a result of the land. So it's talking the bracha that the Eden will get in connection to their work in the land. So what does beite mean? When kein der tut in kenarbeten feld. So we're talking about the land. That means to make it easier for the people. So it's the time when the land could be worked on. When is the time when land could be worked on? Rashi says, as beite from the metar artzachim is baleilis. When is a time when it can't be, when it makes it easier to be worked on, when you don't work in the field at night, the marbet in the field. So when we're talking about the people, the bracha to the people, it's the time when people are not out. We're talking about the time for the bracha to the land, that the land should be able to be worked properly. So it has to be, the rain has to come when people don't work in the land. So that's the best time for the rain to come. As we eat, that when is the beite for the rain, best thing for the rain in connection to the field. When does the field, so to speak, gain most by the rain? When it rains at night, because during the day they have to work in the field, so the rain is going to interfere, so the field will lose out. They won't be able to work so good because while it's raining, you can't work. At night is the time. So that's why in the place where we're talking about the second way, that we're talking about the bracha to the land, there it's every night. The whole thing is the night, the time when you don't work in the field. And what's the bracha for the land if the rain only goes at night, only at night? It's not a bracha for the land. It's not we care with the land. The reason is so you shouldn't have trouble. It's good for the Eden, was arbeiten in the felder. It's good for the Eden to work in the field. The rain should go at night. But das is when it is lichtig. you work in the field when it's light. I taught during the day. Like it says by Yankev Avina, Yankev in Asoda, Yankev came from the field at night, in the evening. Regen wouldn't have this problem of working in the rain. So Rasha, that's why Rasha uses these words. It should not be matriach you. Rasha when the Rasha says the first shot baleilis, Rasha by us. But what does Bita mean in the nights? And Rasha actually atricho eschem. And Rasha writes it in this order. He doesn't write first Shali atrich eschem baleilis. He writes first that this is when is it good for the field? Night. It should rain at night. And Rasha gives the reason why is it good at night. Why is it good for the field? Because it's good for the field that people can work easily. So the field gets it, so the people should work. That's why Rasha writes Shali atrich eschem. Rasha kennt sich aber nicht bei genugen mit dem Pirish Baleilis. Now, according to this, in Bayar Parsha, Rasha could have said only the first shot. The first shot is that since it's a bracha to the field, the best thing for the field, when should it rain? The best time is at night. And the Mela, why is it better for the field? Because then people could work on the field when they have to during the day. And at night, if it would rain during the day, it wouldn't work. So why does Rasha have to bring a second shot? So it makes sense. So we see the difference between the two. Parsha B'chukei Rasha only brings one shot. The shot is, the ite means bracha to the people. The rain will come when it's good for the people. So Rasha says, the ite means when people don't go out. And Rasha says, when is it Leil Shap? And that's it. But by us, Rasha says the other pshat. It means at night, because we're talking about not for the people, for the land. And for the land is the main thing, the main bracha for the land is that it rains at night, not at the time when people have to work. So it's better for the people, but what does it mean? That the people don't have to work in the field when it's raining. So that's pshat, it's a bracha for the field, because then the people could work on the field properly. But then Rasha could have stuck with that. Why does Rasha also, by us, have to bring the second pshat? Dobar achar, bi'ite means b'leila shaboses. Shaka matzui means Friday night when everyone is in the house. So the Rebbe explains, Rasha kenzo chabini bagenugim pirish b'leilas. Rasha is not satisfied just with that pshat that means at night. While number one, because havozak the pasuk bi'ite means b'leilas, if Pasuk only means night. Why does the Pasuk say bi'ite in its time, which means at night? But you can't stink klor b'leilas. Should have said at night, that's all. Nit mer v'ein vort, it's not pshat that this is short, or sometimes the Torah writes something not so clear, and we have to figure it out, because the Torah is mekatzer. The Torah doesn't want to write too many words, write shorter. But here it's both one word. Bi'ite is one word, b'leilas is one word. So Rasha has a problem. If the pshat, the way it seems, this is the better pshat, that it means b'leilas, Rasha is wondering why doesn't it say b'leilas? It's all the same one word. So that's one problem with this pshat. A second problem is the word bi'ite is nit latik. The word bi'ite is not so simple. While the mashmo is from bi'ite, because the meaning of the word bi'ite, which means zayin, the meregnes ushlich esayt b'chlal, the time when it's exclusive for the rain, nit nor b'negei dem barbeten v'noretz. It means time when it's exclusive for the rain. Bi'ite means the rain. Not only when it's connected to working in the field. Because according to Rashi's pshat, b'leilas means why? Because it's better for the field. So it's good for the field to be at night, but that's not the word bi'ite. Bi'ite means when it's good for the rain. Especially when sof kol sof, it's why is this a good time? Because it takes away the trouble that person might have if he will have to work in the rain in the field. So again, so why is this called bi'ite, the time of the rain? Therefore, that's what the Rabbi always says. If there are two pirushim, because the first pshat is a good pshat, but there's one certain chesorn in the pshat, so Rashi brings the second pshat. So even though this is the first pshat, which means this is the real pshat of the pasuk, but there's some problem. That's why Rashi has to bring another pshat. Another pshat bi'ite. What does the word bi'ite mean? B'leila Shabbos is Friday night. Everyone is in their house. But Rashi is mighty the word bi'ite in Zampirish. And Rashi, as we said before in part of the kashas, why does he repeat the word bi'ite in the second pshat? He's saying it why? While the Yisref and zweiten Pirish of an Ashton steht in the Mashmoyas from word bi'ite. Because why do we need a second pshat? Because the first pshat has a problem in the word bi'ite. That's what we said before. Number one problem, why does it say bi'ite, not b'leilas? The second problem, it's not bi'ite, it's not for the rain. It's not the time of the rain, it's the time of the field, but not the time of the rain. That's what Rashi has a different pshat, another pshat. And the other pshat is that means Friday night, that's when people are in the house. Okay. But deswegen is the Pirish by Leibel stam the Pirish Rishon V'Yikra. And even though we said the first shot has a problem and this is the second shot, but the first shot remains, the fact that it's at night remains the main shot. About us is massive in Klolis Teichel in the Indian canal, because in Indian it fits more, even though in the wording it doesn't fit so much. That's why we need another shot. When you explain what we said before, the difference between Chukesa and our Parsha, it comes out there's another difference. As we said before, over there, the bracha is l'mayla man hateva, and it's the bracha to the Yidden. Why? Because we're talking about Yidden who are doing something beyond their nature. A meilim b'teira, a sug miyuchet from Yidden, a special kind of Yidden that work very hard. Gegen Parsha Seinu, like in our Parsha, was wegen schad the farvas asisem ashaleichem. Yes, we're talking about schad just for doing what you're supposed to. Ki matera mitzvahs b'chal, just keep Torah mitzvahs. It's a scale of ali. Means all the Yidden. So besides what we said before, this is another thing. The Chukesa is talking to a specific kind of Yidden, not all Yidden, because not everyone is in that madrege. But by us, talk about all the Yidden. All the Yidden keep Torah mitzvahs the way it's normal way the way you're supposed to. That's what comes out. This explains the difference in certain words of Rashi, which so far are not explained, and we asked that in the Kashas. Those are Rashi. Here Rashi says Shahakal Mitzuim B'Teiim. When Rashi brings the union of Friday night, Rashi, because everybody is home. All Yidden. Everybody's all Yidden. Parsha B'Chukei says, Rashi says, it's a time when people, let's say all people, when people don't go out. Doesn't say call. Why? No, we understand. There is not talking about all Yidden. Here we're talking about all Yidden. So here Rashi says, Hakel. Everyone is home. And over there, Rashi doesn't say everybody. He says people, because we're talking about people. People don't go out. That people, not people don't go out. We're talking about people who are Amelim B'Teira, and those are the people that we're dealing with. That's why over there Rashi doesn't say the word call. The second thing, another diuk. Here Rashi says that Friday night is a time when everybody is found at home in a positive way. Everyone is staying home, not in a negative way when people don't go out. Very simple, because here we're talking about all the Yidden. To say nobody goes out Friday night outside, not so. And get davenen, people are the daven, basuchen, they go to visit people, things like that. They're most of the time inside the house, but you can't say they don't go out. Most time they're in the house. They're in the house. So therefore, over here, when we're talking about all people, and so there are some people who do go out sometimes, and in between you go from your house to visit somebody till you go to shul, there could be, it's a time when if it's going to rain, then it'll be a problem. But mostly they're home. Only talking about a certain category of Yidden, those that are toiling in Torah. So we understand that when it comes Shabbos and you're not allowed to work, so what do? Don't go visit anybody. If there are people who toil in Torah, the moment that you can't work, I guess you have to work also. But if you toil in Torah, the moment you can't work, what do? What's their profession? Amelim b'Torah. The world they learn Torah. The Pharisees say, "B'leila Shabbos is nit nor mitzuim b'Petayim and nerechein tarkim lotzes." So therefore, those people Friday night, hey Shabbos, not only they're found in their house, they're b'derech klal most of the time inside the house, but b'chal they don't go out. That's what Rashi says. The loshon there ain't tarkim lotzes. The derech is not to go out because there are people that don't do anything else besides learn, unless you have to. So the weekdays you have to go to work. You have to go to work. But Friday night, when you don't work, so for sure ain't tarkim lotzes that don't go out. The Fathers Rashi don't meet Mefarish in the word beitei. That's why here Rashi doesn't say, like he says in Bechukei, the word beitei b'shosh hakam etzum b'teim kagam b'leila Shabbos. Doesn't say this loshon that when everyone is at home, like Friday night, those aleim with blaze matzum b'teim is nicht der richtige Bitte from the Mutter. This that they are found at home is not the right time of the rain. When we bald sof gate men yaro is because sof because we do out. He says they be eaten nor from the Mutter. It's time for the rain. So here, he's talking about the way it's for the bracha for the Eden. Here we're talking about the bracha for the rain. So the time of the rain, when people are not outside, you can't say that this is the time of the rain because people are their home because the soft of people to go out. In Parsha case, it's talking about the special people who are male and potatoes. They don't go out. So there Rasha could say it. But here Rasha can't say that everyone is home because we're talking about everybody and not everybody is home, as we said before. The lesson of this in Avedis Hashem is like this. Here we see how important the specialty of working hard in Torah mitzvahs. I say, not enough to learn Torah and you do all the mitzvahs. Or as you have to do by working hard. More than the limitations of your nature, I feel even more than the limitations of your nefesh elokis, of your neshama. Because we're talking about more than the limitations of a yid who doesn't Torah mitzvahs. If you do your limitations according to nature, but Torah mitzvahs, you're doing it with your nefesh elokis. So these are limitations, even according to the nefesh elokis. You have to go even beyond that. Yid could claim, he doesn't see why you must be that way. From Gedusha, he's already in a form of Gedusha. He learns Torah, does all the mitzvahs. So why must you break the nature even of your nefesh elokis? So we answer him as we did what you decreed upon us, as he quoted the Lashon before from Rashi. That's what the Eibishter decreed. As I eat, should change his nature. And after them, the Aveda from B'chol Me'etcha, after when you change your nature, you go beyond your nature. That's included in the word B'chol Me'etcha. With everything that you have beyond, Me'ed means very, much more than normal. That's when you're called that you're doing the Ratzon of Hashem. If you do Torah mitzvahs tam, you're doing Torah mitzvahs. But you can't say doing the will of Hashem, because if Hashem wants you to do more. So the Lashon of Eiser Etzein L'Shemokim is only if you do more. And in the Ha'orah 29, the Rebbe quotes the Marsha. The Marsha says on the Gemara in Broches, and that the first parasha of Krishma is called Eiser Etzein L'Shemokim, that you do the will of Hashem. And the second parasha of Krishma talks when Ein Eiser Etzein L'Shemokim, you don't do the will of Hashem. And he asks the Kasha, what do you mean? The second parasha of Krishma starts with Im Shemei Tishma, you're going to listen to Hashem. The Marsha says, the difference is the first parasha says B'chol Levavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Me'idecha. Second parasha doesn't say B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Levavcha, B'chol Nafshecha, B'chol Me'idchem. So the second parasha is talking in the case when you don't do it Me'id, beyond your nature. And that's what the Gemara means, Ein Eisen Etzein L'Shemokim. So when we say Eisen Etzein L'Shemokim, it has to be B'chol Me'idcha. Eibes felde B'chol Me'idcha, if you miss it in B'chol Me'idcha, is nicht nur was man kann nicht sein sicher mit der Avede. Man muss haben die Bavonen, die Shomer L'chem Pirta. Not only if you don't do beyond your nature, you're never sure that what you did is right, because it's possible, like it says in the second parasha Krishna, you got to be careful. You might turn away. That means if you don't do B'chol Me'idcha, even if you do everything correct, we're not guaranteed you won't turn away. Besides that, more than that, Aveda on Shinu Tive v'Togru from the Aveda. If you work, do Aveda Hashem, but you don't change your nature, it's called, as the way it says in Tanya, Lei Avodei. The pasuk it says, there's a person who's Aved Elokim, serves Hashem, and someone doesn't serve him. It's called like, don't serve him. And it's called Ein Yisrael even don't do the will of Hashem, because Hashem wants you to change your nature, and it says what Hashem wants. In other words, to break, and that's like Aveda means to work hard. The Aveda and the B'chol Me'idcha, when you do the Aveda in the form B'chol Me'idcha beyond your limitation, bring the Sarop, the Ashpom, the Mile, Echomedidus, so it brings all the things Hashem gives us from above without limitations. These and the Meifim v'Yazok v'Pashik Yisovei, till you come to the way it says in Pashik Yisovei, dort Hashkifu Memin Kotchecha. Pashik Yisovei, where Rasha said that Loshen, so Rasha says, and the Posik Hashkifa, we say today that we did what you commanded us to do, Gazarto Aleinu, what you decreed us to do, which is beyond nature. Therefore, Hashkifa Memin Kotchecha. Look down from your abode, your place where you live up there. And Rasha says that the word Hashkifa usually is used in the Torah, that Eibishter looks down in a negative way when things are bad. So Rasha says that when you do these mitzvahs, the Eibishter will change Hashkofa, which usually is on look the Eibishter looking down bad to good. So when is that bad? When you do Gzeira Shomokim, when you do B'chol Me'idcha, as Afil as Achvas, B'chol HaMikras, it's Heipach and Brocha, all over in the Psukim. it's against the bracha, that nishapich in the Lashon bracha, it could change to become the Lashon bracha.